Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of, this is the 36th anniversary of Elvis Presley's death.
The what?
36th anniversary of Elvis Presley's death.
Oh.
So I thought I would...
It's been that long since I've had my eye surgery.
Oh.
Because I had my eye surgery the day he died.
Oh. Well, so I guess we both have some things to tell you about what we were doing when he died.
I was in the hospital in St. Louis, Missouri, I just woke up from my surgery. First thing my mom says to me is, Elvis Presley died. I'm like, huh?
Oh my.
Yeah. In Barnes Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri.
Did you know who he was? Sort of?
Not really, but she did, you know.
Yeah. The first drive-in movie I ever saw was an Elvis Presley flick. I was in Austin State Hospital, and they took us to a drive-in movie, and it was an Elvis Presley movie. I have no idea which one it was. None whatsoever. I could have cared less at that age. Now, I have two conflicting memories. Well, I have one memory. The other one is something I was told. My mom told me that we were on the way to either I think it was Dr. Pesikoff's office, either Dr. Pesikoff or Dr. Burrell, and no, they didn't have the same offices. They had
whoever those are.
Yeah. Dr. Pesikoff, for those of you in Houston, he's still around. He's still
kicking.
Yeah, he's still practicing psychiatry.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I thought about sending him a letter just to say, hey, remember me? That was a long time ago, and I'd like to know where my friend Wes is buried as well. That's where I met Wes, was at Dr. Pesikoff's office. Anyway, so from what I recall, I was in Bel Air General Hospital when he died. But I could be wrong about that. Like I said, my mom told me that we were on the way to a doctor's appointment when it came over the radio that Elvis Presley has left the building. I mean, I guess, you know, both my wife and I, we were just too young for him to have...
It was, what year was that? 76?
76? Yeah, I think so. Or 77.
I was like 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah.
Probably 13.
Yeah, so we were, you know, we were still...
young.
Yeah.
We didn't know who Elvis was.
Yeah, Elvis was like our parents' generation.
Yeah.
You know, and if you watch his movies and all that, you'll see that the style was definitely not our style of whatever. It was a different generation. Now, one of my roommates in Bel Air, he had this picture. I don't know if it was Elvis or who. It was a long time ago, people. 36 years ago was a long time ago. Either it was him dressed sort of like Elvis, or it was Elvis. I don't remember. Again, that was a
People
long...
used to get a kick out of... Where'd you put my... Okay.
What?
People used to get a kick out of dressing like Elvis and...
Yeah. Elvis impersonators.
I don't know what the whole fascination is with it, but...
The flying Elvises that would parachute out of planes.
There's still people who are Elvis impersonators to this day. I'm like, come on, people. It's like...
Now, it would be interesting to go to Graceland. But is it something that is, like, very high on the priority list? Absolutely not.
Well, we missed our chance when we're coming back from Texas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, yeah, Elvis Presley. Gosh. You know, and after he died, they had all sorts of TV specials about Elvis. And Elvis has left the building.
Well, it's kind of like after the Princess Diana died, remember they went crazy with her stuff and magazines commemorating her death. There's another one out, I think. Right now, there's one out. But they're not cheap. They're like the $15 magazines. They're almost like a book.
Well, I had my family in England sent me the stamp. There were 2 stamps in the package. of the Princess Diana. I don't think I ever had an Elvis stamp. I used to collect stamps, people. I had a big old little, I forget what they're called, like an album with the stamps in it. I wouldn't mind doing that again, but it's not. That's another thing that's not on the top of the priorities list. But I don't think I ever had an Elvis stamp. That should say how important he was to my life. Not very. I don't think we even have any Elvis LPs.
My mom had some Elvis records, but of course they're gone now.
Because we like LPs, and whenever we have a chance to grab a bunch of them, we do. Sometimes the Salvation Army store will have them free, just a whole, sometimes once we got several big boxes of them free, and we bought some at the.
What'd you pay, $10 for all of those? How many boxes was it? Like
6.
6 boxes of LPs.
Yeah. And some were 78s.
Have you even looked through them to see what's in it?
Kind of, but not in detail.
Piece by piece.
Yeah. I love to get John Denver albums. When I was in HIH, Houston International Hospital, when I was discharged, a bunch of the kids got together and bought me, I think it was John Denver's Greatest Hits, Volume 1 or Volume 2, I don't recall. And they bought this big, poster board, but it was hardback. And they all signed it, autographed it, and said, hey, even had phone numbers and stuff on it. And it was pretty cool, but, that's something my mother actually threw away when she shouldn't have, because that meant a lot to me. It was like a big poster board, but it was hard, it was firm, you couldn't bend it. People just, from the other kids on the unit, just autographing it, and some put their phone numbers on there. Hey, let's get high. It's the 70s, people. It's the 70s. And hey, let's hang out, and other stuff, and one or two of the kids couldn't read what they wrote. But
somebody always has to have bad handwriting.
Yeah. One of the kids whose handwriting you couldn't read, once my big brother Jeff Lawrence, if anybody ever finds him, let him know. I want to get in touch with him. Anyway, he was from up north. I don't remember where up north. I want to say maybe Chicago, but I could be wrong about that. But then he moved to Texas, to Houston, and he got married. He bought a house. He and his wife bought a house, or he bought a house, and then he got married. And it was in the Sugar Land area. And he was my big brother through big brothers, big sisters. And his name was Jeff Lawrence, Lorentz, I think, or something like that. Anyway, now why was I talking about Jeff?
His being brother.
At HIH. Yeah, at HIH. Jeff called me once. We had payphones that we could use, but people could call the payphones. It didn't cost anything. It cost us to call out, but not people call in. Anyway, this kid that autographed really just where you couldn't read his name, he picked up the phone and he said, hey, is Seamus there? And he's like, yeah, this is he. And it wasn't me, man. And I saw Jeff maybe a few weeks later, and he said, hey, did I call you? Did you get a call from me? I'm like, no. But what are you talking about? And this kid picks up the phone and tries to pretend he's me. Like, gosh, come on. Anyway, so 36 years ago today. It seemed, looking back on it, like, for a whole lot of people, the world just ended that day. People were like, it was like the stock market crash of 29,
I almost think he did it intentionally because his career was going downhill, and he just kind of sort of put an end to it, Yeah.
Now he had that wasn't his first attempt at a comeback, and comebacks never mounted
that
anything.
Comeback didn't come back,
He had a big concert. I remember there was this big concert. He gets out on stage and he's so heavy, out of shape. The drugs. I don't know what drugs he was using. And he gets out there and I don't know, he does 2 or 3 songs and
Sweat was pouring off me. I remember that.
Yeah. Didn't they have the concert on TV free or something?
I think they did.
But see, he had a comeback.
I don't even remember when the concert was. Was it like 68 or something?
No, he had one closer to the time he died.
Oh.
But he had made attempts at comebacks before, and they fizzled. There was one where
I remember used to, when I was much younger, watch his movies.
Yeah. And they were musicals, you know, people. They were.
He actually, to me, sang pretty good then, but
Yeah.
it seemed like when he got close to his death, he just kind of didn't care really. You know.
Yeah. And you know, he had all those people surrounding him that really weren't good for him, and that's very sad. You know, they didn't need to be. I mean, they basically were using him for their benefit. And I don't know, maybe he just didn't know how to get away from them. Or maybe he just thought, that's that, you know, I mean, I'm trapped. You know, I think he did a lot of things because of those people around him, not because he wanted to. He showed up at the Nixon White House unannounced once, and they actually let him in.
Surprised they let him in, even.
Yeah. But they weren't allowed to release the photographs until after the Nixon administration had finished, because he was seen as like sort of hippie-ish, you know. He was part of the counterculture kind of thing, and you know the Nixon administration didn't want to be too closely connected with that.
Not like there's any scandal.
Yeah.
With him, with Richard Nixon.
Now
Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was on the bus and I was saying something bad about Nixon, and the bus.
I don't know how the hell you could forget it.
Yeah, if you were around.
It hit like a ton of bricks, basically.
Yeah. Now, my wife was alive when Kennedy was shot.
Well, I was still in my diapers, you know. If you really call that.
I was born.
I'm around, let's put it that way.
Yeah. I was born, what, like 9 months? No, not even 9 months.
You were 64, and he was shot, what, in...
63. Late 63?
I think I was like 5 months old.
Yeah. See, I was born a few months later.
It was like September he was shot.
Yeah. And I actually have people who ask me, well, what were you doing when Kennedy was shot?
I wasn't around yet.
Yeah, I'm like, come on now. I know what I was doing when Franco died, because I paid attention to that. But then again, I was old enough to pay attention to it. I was very happy. For those who don't know, actually, I spent many, many years very afraid of Franco and his minions, because I knew what they...
I remember when September 11th happened. That scared the shit out of me. Because I was working as a temporary in a state office that day. It's like, oh, God. Well, I didn't really... The time I got into work, I got in a car to go to work, I didn't have the radio on, so I didn't really know what had happened until I got to work and was getting ready to... What I was started work at 7:45 in the morning, and it happened like at 9, so it hadn't really even happened yet when I got to work, so...
But it happened right after that.
Yeah, I looked up, because I kept headphones on and listened to music while I was doing the work, and I remember there was one lady who was talking to the other one, and I kind of pulled my headphones off for a moment, and I'm like, she's like, oh, this talk started telling me about it. I'm like, what the hell?
Did they send you home?
Oh, yeah. Because I worked in a government office. They didn't know what was going to get hit next, basically. It scared the living bejeebas out of me. I remember my dad calling me, and he said that it was worse than Pearl Harbor, you know, because
more people.
He remembered.
Yeah.
He was in the military when Pearl Harbor happened.
Yeah.
It was just more. It wasn't even. It was just civilian. This.
Yeah, a lot more people.
Yeah, a lot more people. And
anyway, so people were telling you about our past, you know.
We're rattling on.
Yeah. So Elvis Presley, 36 years ago. Gosh. I guess I would have been, what, middle school?
Huh?
Would that have been about middle school?
I was getting ready to start high school freshman year.
Oh, so it would have been middle school for me.
Yeah.
Not that I exactly went to
I was
school.
between 8th and 9th grade.
See, for me, I spent just as much time out of school as I did in, and from one school to another school to another school and then another one, and then the principal in Okinawa was a piece of
Crap.
Yeah, he would spank me. He would call me into his office to spank me, just as a warning. If you get in trouble, next time you get in trouble, this is what's going to happen to you. Even when I hadn't done anything. But I won't get into all that. But I did have some good teachers. Debbie LeBoon and Frank LeBoon in Monroe Wells, Texas, at Edgemead. Mrs. Rabinowitz in Victoria, Texas. I had a great principal. There was teachers, Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Coy, in elementary school in Alief, Texas. Back when Alief was still relatively country. I mean, it was farm. It was safe. Now you don't walk down the street at night. You don't even look out your window at night.
Oh, great.
Yeah. But anyway, people. So I guess I'll end this. It's almost a 17-minute long video. So bye bye.